Welcome back to Sarah-Tonin Tarot. So today's reading is pick a card reading. So I want you to take a breath, relax, and allow your intuition to guide you. So before you are 3 cards: Turtle Spirit, Flamingo Spirit, and Elephant Spirit. So don't overthink it. Trust the card that draws your attention first. Your message may be in one pile, or you may be called to more than one. Pause the video if you need extra time, and when you've chosen, use the timestamp below to go directly to your reading. Turtle Spirit. So it says slow and steady wins the race. If you chose Turtle Spirit, then I feel like your message today is about healing, patience, and trusting that you don't have to force your journey. So looking at your spread, we have the 3 of Swords, the 8 of Cups, and the 2 of Swords, supported by guiding light and the rising sun. So the first thing I notice is that there is an emotional weight here. The 3 of Swords is often associated with heartbreak, disappointment, betrayal, or grief. But I feel like this goes deeper than a recent event for many of you. Some of you may have been carrying this pain for months or even years, and it's probably become something that you've learned to live with. But Spirit is bringing that to the surface because healing is reaching a new stage. I'm hearing that some of you have become so used to carrying this burden that you've forgotten what it feels like to put it down. For some, this may be connected to love. For others, family. Or it could even be a dream that didn't work out the way you expected. The message isn't about reopening wounds. It's about recognizing how far you've already come. And I think sometimes we become so focused on how much healing still remains that we forget about how much healing has already happened. So Spirit is asking you to acknowledge your own progress. You've survived something that once felt impossible. You made it through days that you weren't sure you would make it through. And while there's still scars, you're no longer standing in the same place emotionally. Then we move on to the 8 of Cups. Now, this card always feels significant because it represents a conscious choice. So this isn't something being taken away from you. This is you deciding that you're ready for more. The cups are still standing. Nothing appears to be broken, yet the man's still walking away. And why? Because sometimes what once fulfilled us can no longer take us to where we're meant to go. Some of you know exactly what this means. There may be a situation that you've outgrown, a relationship where you've learned all the lessons available, or a career path that no longer excites you. Maybe it's even a version of yourself that you're finally ready to release. I'm hearing Spirit say, stop settling for what feels familiar. You see, there's a difference between comfort and fulfillment. Comfort keeps us safe. Fulfillment helps us to grow. And right now, growth seems to be calling your name. The 2 of Swords tells me that the transition hasn't been easy. There's a decision here. Or perhaps you've already made the decision but haven't fully committed to it. The woman on the card is blindfolded, and this often happens when we're waiting for absolute certainty. We tell ourselves, I'll move forward when I know for sure. I'll take the leap of faith when I'm not afraid anymore. I'll make the decisions when I have all the answers. But Spirit says clarity often comes after the movement, not before it. The path becomes visible when we start walking, not because we stand still waiting. Then we come to the Guiding Light Oracle card. Now this card changes the atmosphere of the entire reading because it's a reminder that you are not alone. Many of you have been asking for signs. You may have asked Spirit or your guides, the universe, or simply a higher self for confirmation. This card suggests those signs are already appearing. So pay attention to repeated messages, conversations that seem strangely timed, songs that might answer questions you've been asking. The guidance may not arrive as some big, giant neon sign. It often arrives as like a gentle whisper, a feeling, a knowing, or a nudge in a particular direction. The challenge here is trusting it. So the final card is the rising sun. This is beautiful. It feels like a promise Spirit wants you to leave with. So no matter how difficult the night has been, the sun still rises. No matter how lost you felt, a new chapter is beginning. This card is hope. It's renewal, fresh energy, a brighter horizon. I feel like many of you have spent so long focused on survival, and now Spirit is guiding you towards thriving. Then we have the Turtle Spirit card, which is important because turtles don't rush. They don't panic because somebody else appears to be further ahead. They just trust their own rhythm. And that's exactly what Spirit wants you to do. Stop comparing your journey. Stop measuring your healing against somebody else's timeline. And stop convincing yourself that you're behind, because you are exactly where you need to be. Every step you have taken has brought you here. And while the destination might not yet be visible, your path is unfolding exactly how it should be. So, the overall message for this pile is simple. Release what no longer serves you. Trust the guidance you're receiving and allow yourself to heal. And most importantly, remember that slow progress is still progress. Your sunrise is a lot closer than you might think. So if you chose the Flamingo Spirit, it says embrace the in-between. So I immediately feel that you're in a season of transition. So this pile doesn't feel like the beginning of a journey, and it doesn't feel like the end either. It feels like the middle. That place where one chapter is closing and another one is trying to open. And you're kind of standing in that space in between them, wondering when things will finally make sense. Your cards are the Five of Pentacles, the Seven of Wands, and the Four of Pentacles, supported by the Twin Flames, the Guardian Angel, and the Spring Equinox. So the Five of Pentacles often appears when we're feeling unsupported, unseen, or disconnected, almost like we are being left out in the cold. So some of you may feel like you've been carrying a burden alone. You may have felt abandoned by someone that you trust. You might have questioned why things haven't worked out the way that you expected. And for some of you, this could relate to your finances. For others, it could be relationships, or simply feeling like nobody truly understands what you've been going through. The thing about the Five of Pentacles is that it can create this mindset of scarcity. So when we've experienced disappointments, we begin to expect more disappointment. When you've been hurt, we begin to expect more hurt. But I feel Spirit wants to gently challenge that mindset, because what I see through the rest of this reading is not a lack of anything. I see growth, I see protection, and I see movement. So the Seven of Wands tells me that you've been fighting hard, but you haven't given up. You probably wanted to, and there may have been moments where you questioned whether the struggle was worth it, but you're still here. You're still standing and you're still showing up. The Seven of Wands is a card of resilience, and it's a card of somebody refusing to let circumstances define them. So Spirit is acknowledging your strength. Not the strength you show to others, but the strength that you show in private. The strength you've shown on the difficult days. the type of strength that you show when nobody else sees what you're carrying. And then we have the Four of Pentacles. Now this card is interesting because it speaks of holding on. So sometimes we hold on to people, sometimes we hold on to plans, sometimes we hold on to old wounds because they feel familiar. I'm hearing Spirit ask, what are you afraid to release? Because there's something here that you're gripping onto tightly. I think part of you believes that letting go means losing control. But sometimes holding on is what prevents the new blessings from arriving. So the Flamingo Spirit card says, embrace the in-between. That message couldn't fit this reading more perfectly, because many of you are waiting for certainty before moving forward. You want guarantees, you want proof, you want to know exactly how everything will unfold. But Spirit says there's a phase here that you just need to trust. You don't need an entire map, you just need to know the next step. And when you move on to your oracle cards, we have the twin flames, which means different things for different people. I think for some of you, it may speak about a powerful soul connection. So for others, it will represent spiritual growth and self-discovery. What stands out the most is the mirror energy. Life has been reflecting things back to you, showing you where healing is needed, showing you where your boundaries are needed, and showing you where self-love is needed. You see, sometimes the greatest lessons isn't about another person. It's about what they can awaken within us. Then we have the Guardian Angel. This card feels incredibly protective. I think some of you have been feeling alone. And you're probably wondering whether anybody is listening to your prayers, whether your guides are near, whether you're on the right path or not. And this card arrives with a very clear answer. Yes. You are being guided, you are being supported, and you are being protected, even when things appear uncertain. Even when doors close, and even when plans change, there is a greater perspective at work. So the final oracle card is the spring equinox. This is a beautiful energy. Spring is the season of renewal, this growth, new life, fresh beginnings. But before the flowers can bloom, something has to happen beneath the surface. Roots have to develop, seeds need to prepare. And growth often begins long before any evidence of it can be seen. That's exactly what I feel for this pile. Something is growing, something is developing, and something is aligning, even if you can't see it yet. So Spirit keeps repeating one phrase, trust the process. Not because it's easy, not because it's comfortable, but because the process is leading somewhere meaningful. So the overall message for this pile is that you're not stuck, you are transitioning. And there is a big difference between the two. You need to trust where you're being guided, trust what is unfolding, and most importantly, trust yourself. The season you are waiting for is a lot closer than you think. And if you chose number 3, Elephant Spirit, the card says, learn from the past. So Elephant Spirit feels like the most transformative pile in the readings. The energy here is powerful. It's an energy of endings becoming beginnings. It's an energy of old structures collapsing to kind of create a stronger foundation that can be built. So your cards are the Tower, the Three of Wands, and the Emperor, supported by the Butterfly and the Starlit Cloak. Now, let's start with the Tower. This card often scares people, but I want you to take a deep breath because I don't feel fear around this card in any way. If anything, I feel liberation. So the Tower appears when something is no longer aligned with your highest path. It might be a belief, a relationship, a career, a way of thinking even, or it could be a version of yourself, but something has reached its expiration date. For some of you, this change may have already happened. For others, it may still be unfolding. What Spirit wants you to understand is that the Tower doesn't destroy what is meant for you. It will only remove what isn't. I think sometimes we can pray for growth, but resist change. Sometimes we can ask for transformation, but we cling on to familiarity. So the Tower arrives when the universe is saying it's time. And although it can feel uncomfortable, it often creates breakthroughs that we couldn't have achieved any other way. So from the Tower, we move on to the Three of Wands. Now this card completely changed the perspective of the whole reading. So after the disruption caused by the Tower comes expansion. After the ending becomes possibility. And after the uncertainty becomes a vision. So the person on the card is looking out into the horizon. And that's exactly what Spirit wants you to do. Stop looking at what has fallen away and start looking at what is opening up ahead, because there are opportunities approaching and possibilities emerging. There's paths becoming available to you that wouldn't have been visible before. So many of you might have been focused on what you've lost, but Spirit wants you to focus on what you are gaining. So then we have the Emperor. This card is in an incredibly powerful position here. So the Emperor speaks of stability, leadership, authority, confidence, and all that type of stuff. So this tells me that whatever the Tower removed was making room for something so much stronger. You're not being pushed into chaos, you're being guided towards mastery. And for some of you, this will involve stepping into leadership. For others, it will involve finally trusting your own judgment. And it could even mean building a life that reflects your true values instead of other people's expectations. So the Emperor doesn't seek approval. The Emperor knows his worth. And Spirit is encouraging you to reclaim your power. So then we move on to the Butterfly card. And this basically reinforces everything that we've just discussed. It talks about transformation, rebirth, and growth. So a butterfly cannot become what it's meant to be while remaining inside its cocoon. The transformation requires surrendering. Some of you are currently in that stage, the stage where everything feels uncertain, the stage where you're becoming something new. Spirit wants you to trust this process because the person emerging from this transformation is a hell of a lot stronger, wiser, and more aligned than ever before. And then lastly, we have the Starlit Cloak. I love this card, it's so pretty. So the card feels deeply spiritual. It speaks of mystery and protection, divine timing. It also talks about the unknown. So some answers aren't meant to arrive today. Some paths will reveal themselves one step at a time. So the Starlit Cloak basically is asking you to trust what you cannot yet see. So you don't need to know every detail. You don't need to control every outcome. You just simply need to keep moving one step forward. And then the Elephant card says, learn from the past. So notice that Spirit isn't asking you to relive the past. It's asking you to learn from it. The lessons matter. The wisdom matters. The experience matter. But they're not meant to become chains. You are not the mistakes you've made. You are not the heartbreaks that you've experienced. And you're not the setbacks that you've endured. You are the wisdom gained from surviving them. So the overall message for this pile is incredibly empowering. A chapter is ending and a stronger chapter is beginning. So trust the transformation. Trust the rebuilding. And more importantly, trust yourself, because the future ahead of you feels far bigger than the version of the life that you're leaving behind. So I just want to say a massive thank you guys for joining me today. And this is the first time I've tried to do the pick a card reading, so let me know in the comments which pile you chose and how your message might have resonated with you. If you enjoyed this type of reading, please like, subscribe, and come and join our growing community. But until next time, guys, take care of yourself, trust your intuition, and I will see you in the next reading. So bye for now. Lots of love and light.